Welcome to Enjoying Everyday Life with New York Times bestselling author Joyce Meyer. On today's program, Joyce will be teaching from her series, How to Age Without Getting Old. If we want to look and feel our best no matter our age, we must learn to take good care of our bodies and pay attention to God's voice speaking to our hearts. He wants to help us be strong in every season of life. Now, here's Joyce with today's teaching.
Well, thank you for joining us today on Enjoying Everyday Life. Well, I want to talk to you today about something that we all deal with, and that's stress. And you know, a normal amount of stress our bodies are built to handle. But when it becomes excessive, it causes us problems, and it can even make us age faster than what we should. I've actually written a book called How to Age Without Getting Old. And one of the ways that you do that, you're going to add years to your life every year, no matter what. None of us can do anything about that. But we can age and add years to our life without getting old. The better you take care of yourself up front, the better you're going to feel later on. And stress, excessive stress, really, they say 70 to 80% of all disease, although the disease is real, the underlying thing that got it started was stress. Everything needs to rest. But it doesn't just need to, you don't just need to rest your body, you need to rest your soul. Inside, we need to rest. Our minds need to rest. If you worry all the time and you're upset all the time, that in itself can wear you out. Obviously, if you're going to age without getting old, it has a lot to do with your mindset. Don't start thinking, I'm old, or I'm too old to do that anymore. I stay away from saying I'm too old to do that. I just say it's not wise for me to do that anymore. There are certain things that I can't do now that I once did, but I say it's wise for me not to do that anymore. Where we get in trouble is when we push and push and push and do things that God is no longer giving us the grace to do. Now, to exalt Jesus means to put Him first place in your life. And that means that we follow His commands. We follow the guidance and the leadership of the Holy Spirit. For Jesus to be exalted doesn't just mean that we start each day with a little prayer, and that's putting God first. It means following His guidance and doing what He leads us to do all day, every day. And if we do that, you know what? We're going to have enough energy to live a great life. We're going to feel good most of the time. I mean, we all have days where we don't feel good and we all get tired, but you're going to feel good and be healthy. It's all the things that we do that God's grace is not on that puts a lot of stress on our lives. You know, even if somebody asks you to do something for them and you know down deep inside that it's going to put a lot of pressure on you and it's not the wisest thing for you to do, if you say yes to that and go ahead and do it, you're going to do it without God's help, and so it's going to put stress on your life. Being a Christian doesn't just mean that you go to church once a week. It means that you follow God. You learn His Word, you study His Word, and you obey the Word. But you also have the Holy Spirit living in you. Believe it or not, the Bible doesn't deal with every single thing that you come across in life. It doesn't tell you what to say yes to and what to say no to and everything, but it does tell you to follow the leadings and the promptings of the Holy Spirit. When Jesus ascended on high, He sent His Spirit, the Spirit of God, to dwell on the inside of us, and one of His jobs is to guide us, to help us and to guide us. And we're to follow the promptings of the Holy Spirit. And you know what a prompt is? It's just a little, you know, like a parent can look at a child that's doing something they shouldn't do and just go, and boy, that kid knows. Well, that's kind of like the Holy Spirit. We'll either get a little But you feel it on the inside. It's like you know what a prompting is. You know, I have a clock in the studio that prompts me by telling me how long I've been talking. And I know that I have a certain amount of minutes to talk, and so I can go over that if I want to, but if I do, I'm going to create a mess, and all the work that we did is going to be for nothing, or I'm going to cause somebody a lot of extra work by having to do a lot of editing. So I follow those promptings, and it makes everything go smoothly in life. Well, God prompts us too through the Holy Spirit what to say yes to, what to say no to. Stress was originally an engineering term. Now, instead of buildings collapsing, people are collapsing. You can have mental stress, physical stress, emotional stress. Certain amount of stress we can handle, like I've said, but when it becomes excessive, that's when it becomes a problem. Being upset puts stress on your body. Worrying puts stress on your body. Being angry and full of unforgiveness puts stress on your body. But you know what? Luke 10:19 tells us that God has given us authority and power over all the power of the enemy, and nothing shall by any means harm us. In other words, every single one of us, you, me, every one of us, God has given us the power, the energy, the strength, the ability to do what He wants us to do, but He will not give us the power, the strength, and the ability to do what He doesn't want us doing. So, if you're just deciding what you want to do in life without getting the counsel of God, then you can just go ahead and do it on your own. You won't do it with God's help. But I've learned the hard way, and that's how most of us learn things. I've learned the hard way to always go to God and ask Him to help me in every single thing that I do. We're built for a normal amount of stress, but none of us are built for excessive stress. See, there was a time in my life when I didn't understand what stress was. My mother had a nervous breakdown when I was in my 20s. And for 2 years, she took shock treatments and just had all kinds of problems. She never really was the same after that. She was a sweet woman, but she just, all the extra stress in her life from my alcoholic, abusive father really took a toll on her, and she just always had all kinds of health problems because of that. But because she had had a nervous breakdown, anytime anybody mentioned the word stress to me, I would go to the doctor not feeling good, and they would say, well, it's just stress. And that would make me so mad because I felt like they were telling me that I couldn't handle life, and I was strong. I was a strong woman of God, and I could handle whatever I needed to handle. Well, you know what? That's really not true for any of us. You can handle what God gives you to handle. But when you start trying to go beyond that and do things just because you feel like doing it or you want to do it, or you're a people pleaser and you don't know how to say no to anybody, those are the things that wear us out. Do you complain about your schedule? Well, I've just got too much to do. Well, did you ever think of saying no to some things? I was crabbing about my schedule one time with the Lord. No sane person could be expected to do all that I do. The Lord whispered in my heart and said, you make your schedule. If you don't like it, change it. Now see, that's true. If you don't like all the things that you've taken on in life, then start asking yourself if you really need to do all of them. In all probability, you're doing a lot of things because other people want you to, or just because it's what you've always done, and maybe God got finished with it a long time ago and you're still doing it. Ask yourself not just what you're doing, but why you're doing what you're doing. And anything that's not being done with the right motive, cut it out of your life. We always feel like we have to do all these things, but there's a lot of things we don't have to do if we really don't want to. My question today is not, do you have stress? Everybody has stress. My question is are you managing the stress in your life? When it becomes excessive, are you cutting some things out of your life? Are you taking measures to avoid having too much stress? I said, are you taking measures? I don't know why we always think that other people shouldn't pressure us. No, they shouldn't pressure us, but even more than that, we shouldn't allow them to pressure us. We're going to talk, I think, tomorrow about learning how to say no, and that's something we all need to do. You know, every time you get stressed out, your body goes through this cycle. There's a stressor. Your brain recognizes it's under stress. It says something to your pituitary gland. That affects your blood pressure. It affects your adrenal glands. Then your body releases cortisol and cortisone. Then adrenaline is released, and your body just goes through this cycle of stuff. Well, you know, it's kind of like a rubber band. I got a nice new rubber band here. If I just, I can stretch it and it goes back, stretch it and it goes back, stretch it and it goes back. Well, that's what happens to our body. We can stress it, get a good night's rest, and it goes back. You can stretch it, get a good night's rest, and it goes back. You can really stress it, and something breaks. Well, you know what we do a lot of times? We tie a knot in it and just keep going. Well, have you ever had a rubber band that had so many knots in it that you couldn't even tell what it was anymore? I wonder how many knots you have in you. Oh, I've got this big knot in the back of my neck. Oh, I've got this knot here in my shoulder. I don't know what that's from. Well, you know what it's from? It's from doing this all the time. And that knot are the places where you've just tied up and tried to keep going without really eliminating some of the things that you should be eliminating in your life. Organs fail because they get exhausted. Stress causes illness in our body, and even though the illness is real, stress is the root of it. Noise is stressful. And I tell you, I don't know. I like music, but when it is loud and wild, it just wears me out. Now, if you're 20, you may like that. But I'll tell you, by the time you're 75, it's going to get on your nerves. And I don't think it's good for us. They say that all the high-level noise that young people listen to today even affects their hearing. We live in a very noisy world. We live in a very stressful world. You make one little tiny mistake in traffic and people are ranting and raving at you. There's so much negative talk in the world, so much complaining, and I believe all of that causes stress. And so I want to invite you today to calm down and cheer up.
Learn the steps to stay young with Joyce's book, How to Age Without Getting Old. It's the perfect gift for anyone because we all age, but we don't have to get old. Also included in today's resource package is the My Prayer Journal. Use it to record conversations with God or reminders of His goodness. Available now for a gift of $30 or more. Order at joycemeyer.org or call toll-free 1-800-789-0089.
Catch this limited opportunity to see Joyce Meyer live.
I believe God is working in my life, and I am expecting something good to happen to me today.
3 unique sessions of practical Bible teaching that you can apply to your everyday life.
Your worst day with Jesus will be better than your best day ever was without Him.
Coming to Atlanta, Georgia, October 11th and 12th at Gas South District. For more information, go to joycemeyer.org/Joyce Live.
Thanks for listening to Enjoying Everyday Life. Joyce Meyer Ministries' mission is to share Christ and love people. Together, we can do so much more.